But let's talk about better communication. So where are we going? I'm going to focus on 5 titles, 5 things. And the 5th is going to be a whole bunch of little things depending on our timing. Know your audience, structure the message, the bullet points, plus or minus 2, pop them, and let's use the right tools. Well, those are the topics. Those are the headings. Number 1, know your audience. I don't care where you work. I don't care what you're doing. In fact, I don't care if you're a project manager or not. So everyone listen. When you communicate, when you meet with someone, when you present to a board of directors, a bunch of stakeholders, a client, a vendor, when you do a presentation to a large audience, when you write a memo, when you create a project update report, when you write an email, the key to communicating, the key to success is understanding these words. Communicating is a science. The art we can look after. And you might say, oh, you can't make a great presenter out of me. I hate being on stage. Okay, that's cool. But we're not talking about the art. I want to talk about the science. And here's what it says. It says, before you open your mouth, put pen and paper together. That's old I am. Start typing on a keyboard. Close the door for a meeting. One-on-one, one-on meeting. Step on stage. Before any of that, you must, as a good communicator, you must stop and say, who am I speaking, presenting, or writing to? Who am I communicating to? Who are the receivers? What do they want to hear? How do they want to hear it? When? And the most important question is why. Why do they care? We don't do this. As presenters, as subject matter experts, we know all of this information, and people say, so how's the project going? And we go, and we barf the whole thing at them, excuse the language. We don't say, so who is this person? And in my guess, or through maybe a couple of key questions before I start, what does she need to know? So how's the project going? Well, do you have a half an hour, 10 minutes, or 1 minute? Thank you for asking. I'll take the 1 minute. You're in an elevator, and this is the 10-second elevator, 20-second elevator speech that she has actually said, hey, let's go give you 1 minute, which means you need to scale the information that you know into a 1 minute presentation in the elevator off the top of your head. Go. That is the hardest thing that project managers do. And that is the most difficult thing when it comes to communicating well, that we are forced or faced with, is scaling our information down. We know too much. We know too much technical information. We know history. We know where we're at and how we got there. We know where we're at, how we got there, and where we might go because we keep rebaselining. The person just asked how it was going. Sometimes all they wanted in the elevator was a, hey, really well, thank you. All systems go green. Hey, 75% green, but I got a couple of oranges I'm looking after. I got about 60% green. I got a couple of oranges and I got a couple of ugly reds, but they're under control, or I'm about to get them under control. Or are you available tomorrow to help? Because I got a couple of reds. This is all some people want. Others will say, how's the project going? You say, great, a couple of good reds. And they go, what are you talking about? Give it to me. I am a project manager. I'm a project lead. I am your key sponsor. I'm your client. You scaled that down way too much. Give me more. I love talking and presenting to people and saying, I'm going to stay a little high, my best guess. If it's too high, like even today, if this is too high, you ask the questions and we'll drill down. That means you're managing the agenda, which is power, which is so good for me because I'm going to tell you what you want to know. And I'm going to just stay high and I'm going to guess how high. Oh, this is not easy. Sometimes our audience is a mix. I got the technical people here. I've got the accountants here. I've got the client over here that's got so many other things going on in his or her lives than to hear a whole bunch of detail from me. But these guys are juicy, want more. And these guys just want to know the numbers. So how do you handle the audience? But here's my point. At least you know that. And you can think this out and maybe structure so that they are all satisfied, or quite frankly, tell the accountants to stop, to be quiet for a moment. You techies be quiet, but I'm just going to talk to my client and then I'm going to let her leave because then we'll talk finance, and then we'll talk detail. The cool part here is that you actually stopped and you said, who am I speaking to? What do they need to know? Numbers, detail, stay high, because I got many better things to worry about. Why do I want? Why? Because I'm really concerned about our finances. Why? Because I'm the techie and I need to know everything. Is that a good excuse for me to waste a bunch of people's time in the room because you need to know everything? Maybe we should meet separately. Why? Because I'm your client and I just want a comfort level that we're on the right track. Ask the question, know your audience, sure that you're addressing the why and even the how. Why are you presenting and standing up in front of a PowerPoint? It's just me. David, sit down. Let's talk. Give it to me verbally. How? Why do you keep emailing me on the weekends? I don't read email from work on the weekend. Full stop. You should have asked me at the beginning. When? I work like 24/7, and it's important to me. So know your audience. Know the how, the when, the why, the where, what. I blog every week. You can follow me at davidbarrett.ca. And I blog every week, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, North American Eastern Standard Time for my friends in England and India. I've posted a couple of times about this idea of the science of communicating. I got a 2:30, 2:45 one day, and she said, I must tell you that you probably saved a career today. You saved someone's job. And I went, wow, that's kind of goosebumps material. She said, you don't know me. I follow your blog. I read what you said today about the science. Know your audience. What do you know? What don't you know about them? I'm in an elevator. I'm walking into a meeting one-on-one with an employee that basically is now destined to no longer work for the organization. And the details aren't important, but I was pretty sure I knew I was set. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to talk about this, how it's all going to go. And the results were going to be basically predetermined. I read your blog and you said, understand your audience. What do you know? What don't you know? Are you sure? Put yourselves in their shoes. Look across the table at you in 15 or 10 minutes. I was about to meet, and I realized that I had some gaps in the story. And I had to rethink my approach. So I actually texted her. I got out of the elevator, texted her and said, I'm going to be 10 minutes late. Go grab a coffee. I'll meet you at 10 after 1. And I went outside, went down to the bottom, went outside the building, walked around the block, walked into the room. There she was. An hour later, the meeting's over. We got a whole new deal. This person is going to be strong. We get it. I now have filled the gaps. The stuff that I didn't know was critical to the solution or critical to the situation. Thank you. Know your audience, folks. Number one, whenever you stand in front of a crowd, whenever you write a memo, type the email, listen to yourself. Who's getting it? Why do they care? Is this too much, too little? Is it the right approach? Is this how I should be communicating? Why am I emailing this? Why don't you pick up the phone? The phone is one of these things that's got a receiver here, and it works. Old school, but yeah, sometimes just pick up the phone. Number one, know your audience. Number two, critical communication skills for project managers, for project leaders, anyone that is presenting, writing, or taking an important message and getting it across. Selling skills 101, whatever. Structure your message. So, how many times have you sat and listened to someone speak, present, talk, meet? And about 10 or 15 minutes into it, you're kind of wondering, where the heck are we? What part of the agenda? Where is the agenda? What are we supposed to be talking about? The critical piece to this is to structure the message so that you don't lose your audience. When we take our kids across the road, we say, kids, we're all going to hold hands and here we go. When you take your audience on a journey as a speaker, presenter, as in a meeting, as a facilitator or the chair of a meeting, as the author of a book, as the author of a white paper, as the author of a document that's called your project update report. Structure is absolutely critical. And what it's going to do, folks, is as your receiver of this information, it gives me comfort to know how long, where are we going, how are we going to get there. And some people very wisely, if it can be a bit convoluted and a little bit detailed in some of the sections, where are we now? I've seen slides in a presentation saying 3 out of 12. I've seen points, 4 points. I'm going to go backwards. Okay, backwards to here. Where are we going? Know your audience, structure the message. I have 5 things. Maybe what I should have done is listed all 5 right here and said, this is the one we're on. And this is the one we're on, to keep you under control. This is a comfort level. But it's important to me because I have a very structured mind, and so will over half of your audience. Not all. Some of them might be quite comfortable with you boing and boing and boing all over the map. Get your message clear. This is what I want to tell you. Here are the 5 points I'm going to make in order to tell you. And here we go. The bulk of the message, the body of the report. And some people will say, and here's what I told you, and they will repeat that slide at the end. Oh yeah, you said you were going to tell me 5 things. You did tell me 5 things. I was under control. It was a logical message. It was structured. It was logical. I never lost my way. Why is this important? Because people will click away. They will click away so fast. You will be speaking to an audience of 100 people and you will see the cell phones come up. And not only that, they'll put them in front of their face often because they want you to know you're boring. you are all over the map or you've lost me. Project leads. We go back to you know too much. Structure your message back to the first piece, which says, and who are you speaking to? Who's your audience? Understand if all you're going to do is report and speak to the financial folks in the corner there, and maybe let's leave everybody out. Okay, financial, I'm going to address you in the next 5 minutes. I understand that you are very concerned about our P&L on this project or our financials on this project, our expenses. I'm going to cover that off. I'm going to cover off the future expenses and the pro formas going out 1 year only. And then we are going to stop. I'm going to take questions. You good with that? Thank you. So here's the State of the Union right now. Hear me? Who are you? What are we going to do? How long is it going to take? How am I going to structure it? Questions at the end. It was clear and concise, and they're going, man, thank you very much. Thank you for giving me that foundation. You know, we talk about raising children. I have raised 4. I'm watching my children raise the grandkids. Some of you have not raised children yet, will have been so and been there, done it. Who knows? Our children want structure. They want to be told what, when, how. The freedom that you give them isn't always a good thing. The freedom in closed, confined areas is brilliant. You can go crazy, but there's the fence, and you aren't getting out. Go nuts, pull the water sprayer, go crazy, and beat each other up. It's controlled. Our kids want the control. Our clients, our receivers in a communication environment want the control. Number 3, this is called the 7 bullets of highly effective project managers. And this came from a book somewhere in the back shelf there. It's orange. That I published called actually my friend and I, Derek Weiger and I published. It's called the Keys to Our Success. When we went up to a bunch of project managers and we said, what's the key to your success? What's the one nugget you take into every project that makes you successful? My friend Benoit DeGrasse, he said, and this was his chapter. And then I loved it so much that I actually videotaped it. And I'm going to show you the video. However, I have to stop the share because I forgot to do something. What I forgot to do when I share, and by the way, if you're ever doing this, make sure it says share sound. Mine's for there. I've got it. And now we should be good to go. So here's a quick, the video thumbnails are minimized to optimize screen clip value. Yeah, whatever. So let's have a quick look at what my friend Benoit says. I believe this is really important in communication skills for project managers.
Hello everybody, my name is Benoit DeGrasse. I'm the president of PMC Project Management Center. One of the tips and techniques that I've found over the years that has been useful for me, which I'm sharing with you in the book, is actually, let me show you rather than try to explain it to you. And I'll show you with a couple of images that you'll see on screen here just in a few seconds. I'm going to show you some images with shapes and items. I want you to try and tell me how many things you see. Now careful, because the images are going to come quite fast. All right, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Bang. All right, so that was the first one. How many things did you see? 4. Absolutely. Let's have a look again. There were 4 different shapes on that image. Now we're going to try a second one, and this time I'm going to make it a little bit harder. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wow, that was fast. How many things did you see? You might be trying to guess. 15, maybe 20, maybe 17. There were actually 18 different shapes on that particular image. Let's have a look again. This time I'll leave it a little longer so you can count them. So 18 different shapes on that image. Okay, one last one this time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wow, okay, how many items this time? 7, absolutely, 7 items. And that's actually what a gentleman by the name of George A. Miller from Harvard University postulated way back in the 1950s. He essentially said that people had an easier time understanding, grasping, memorizing things if we presented them in chunks of about 7, plus or minus 2. And as a project manager or as a manager, that tip, understanding that, becomes very important, because if I'm writing an email or if I'm creating a PowerPoint presentation, creating a document, bullet lists, this is important. It's important to understand that your audience will not understand you if you try to present more than 7 ideas at a time. My name again is Benoit DeGrasse, and I wish you success in your future projects, and thank you very much, and have a great day.
If you have an audience, if you present your audience with over 7 items, you will probably lose them. They won't understand. That's quite a statement. And I challenge you to think about your last presentation or your future one. Test it. He's dead on this one. 7 plus or minus 2. You want to do a 1 hour workshop. It isn't 15 effective, highly effective project management things we can do. It isn't 15 great communication skills. I will lose you at 7, 8, or 9. It gets just too much to consume. Frankly, sometimes it just gets boring. And often we're trying to cover off too much, and so we're scaling it and we're presenting it too lightly. A one-day workshop, it's 7 plus or minus 2. A book, it's, yeah, careful now, but it could be 7 plus or minus 2. Definitely your project report, your emails, your spreadsheets. Yeah, but David, I've got 15 calculating columns. Hide them. And in fact, when you send the spreadsheet, you're not sending them a live spreadsheet. You're sending them the spreadsheet at that moment in time. So freeze it with a new name, delete all of the cells that are being calculated, actually copy the whole thing into a new column, or excuse me, a new sheet, and say copy, paste special, and paste the values, which now no longer uses the calculations, get rid of all the garbage. There should only be 7 plus or minus 2, up to 9 columns in that spreadsheet. It's all I can consume. This presentation, I have four points. 4 points to make. Now, guess what? The 5th could be a whole bunch of juicy, cool things, and we'll just see how we go, but that's all right. Key communication skill, number 3 for me today, for all of you, regardless of the industry you're in, but project managers in the engineering environment, understand your audience. Not only structure that message well, but keep the message down to 7 points, plus or minus. And the 4th is the right tools. So here comes, in some cases, we can now flip to the art. The science, I got those 3, David. Now let's talk about some of the tools that we can use. And so I want to drill down to some really cool tools that I think are effective, that you should be using, but I'm going to go through some of these cool tools that I want to bring to your attention. Number 1, you should be a good presenter. Every project manager should know how to present. If you're not, and you want to be a better presenter, go get a coach, go get some mentors, go take a course. Go join now here in North America. We've got the Toastmasters. Thank you. I beat you all. And every city has a Toastmasters group. In fact, Toronto has a project management focused Toastmasters group. And I know they exist elsewhere around the world. If it doesn't exist, start it yourself. It is a very, very effective way to learn how to present. Very scientific and lots of practice and very cool. And there's levels that you obtain as you go through. Here's what I'm going to really suggest. Just present as often as you can. And every time you present, either put a camera on yourself, get your cell phone up, buy and invest in a tripod. If you are having difficulty presenting to an audience, nerves, presentation, structure, listen, go invest in a small, very cheap little tripod. Put it at the back of the room, a cell phone. Oh, it's downstairs because I'm practicing my golf swings. Mine, I've taken the top off and I've actually dialed in an iPhone holder, an iPhone clip. So I've got my tripod, I've got my iPhone clip, and I put it on and I practice my golf shots. There's no better way to learn about your bad golf shot unless you are actually videotaping. Videotape yourself. Part 2, ask someone in the audience to pay attention because you want to chat with them afterwards. People that you can trust who will be bluntly honest with you. Part 3, don't worry about the ums and the ahs. They will come and they're hard to kick unless you are a professional at it, unless you're really seasoned at it. Don't worry about the ums and the ahs. Worry about the content. Worry about clear delivery. Worry about the structure of the message. You're structured, it's clear, and you're giving me 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 points, and you told me where we're going and how we're going to do it, and you did it, and it was clear and structured. You're awesome. Yeah, you said and ah, but who cares? I don't care. The message was clear. Worry about the details. We're not expecting you to be a professional presenter, a professional speaker. But I can tell you the flip side. The flip side comes when the scenario, you're walking in and you're umming and ahhing because you don't know your stuff. You're clumsy because you don't know your technology, like this guy Barrett now, and he's got this video thing going on. Oh, that was stupid. But you really fumble. You don't know your stuff. When you were asked questions, you didn't know the answer. You didn't bring in the key people that could have answered the questions. It's all about you. Where's your team? Poor presentation skills, poor prep, poor structure, all over the map. Trying to cover 15 to 20 points in an hour, that is career limiting. And as your senior stakeholder, as your sponsor, or as your client, you really just killed it. And that's killed in a bad way. Yeah, it's not good, folks. So take time, practice, Plant someone or put your iPhone up and learn. You will be amazed at how you will improve the more you present. A little bit about PowerPoint presentations. It's a dangerous tool. Have you noticed my PowerPoint? I'm not reading a lot from this thing. Heck, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't feel passionate about this subject or the subject that I talked about earlier today with another group or last week for 4-hour workshop with another group. Passion, understanding your audience, understanding your subject matter, and really being proud of what you're about to say helps the cause. Don't blow it. Don't get yourself in a situation where you're embarrassing yourself in front of the audience. Okay. Lots of prep, lots of practice, and you'll do well. Number 2, other little things you should know. In the project management business, you may be a project manager with no formal training. I get that. Engineers, you probably took project management course in year 1, and maybe that was all you did. Listen, when you decide to be a professional project manager, you go to the PMI designation, you get your PMP and all that wonderful cool stuff. One of the things you'll learn, one of the tools you will learn is that it's called the communications plan. And in it, we have 2 parts of the puzzle. One is the stakeholder analysis and one is that communications distribution plan. Vital. If you are leading a project as a project manager in any environment, you need a communications plan. Part 1, who's who in the zoo? Who are the major stakeholders? Who's important? Who thinks are important but aren't important? Who doesn't think they're important or really are important? Who can make or break my project anytime within the life cycle of a project? So I like risk analysis. What can break or make? What can make or break my project anytime within the life cycle of my project? Stakeholder analysis is the same question on the people side. Who can make or break? Who are the key people? Who's going to use it? Who do I have in the authoritative position? Who's my major sponsor? Do you have a sponsor? Well, you better have a sponsor. You can't move forward. And once you figure out who's who in the zoo, the second piece of the puzzle is, well, who gets what? And this is a key as a key communication tool. And not only do you design it at the beginning and create the product, but you actually follow it. And you have a plan that says every Monday morning, the following groups of people get the following information. It's a quick update report. It's a status bar only. It's the minutes of the meeting. Who gets it? When do they get it? And how do they get it? When I work for you, or when you work for me as the client, I'm now the client or your major stakeholder or your sponsor, I am looking at your communication engine and I am dying when you are not prepared, when you're sending information out at the last moment, when you are sending information out to the wrong people, you're missing people, and you're sending out garbage. It's killing me. This is a career limiting piece, folks. The communications plan is critical. What can I do about it, David? You can go study it. Google it. It's all over the map and people will show you how. Hey, I'm sorry, but your meetings really suck. You know, often we hold these meetings because we just want to let people, maybe even ourselves, fluff our feathers and show people how incredibly organized we are. And you know what? They're a waste of time. I think the COVID 2 years that we've just gone through, this pandemic, has shown us that you can run really good meetings virtually. And in fact, when it's virtual, we are often more compelled to make them crisp, to the point, and done. I bet you billions and billions of dollars a month were saved worldwide on meetings that didn't happen because they didn't need to, or meetings that happened virtually, which saved all the travel and all the walking, and or meetings that happened virtually where the agenda was much better controlled because we were there virtually. And for some reason, it just made us stand up and say, don't waste my time. Every meeting's got an agenda published beforehand. Every meeting's got a chair. You know what's going on. You as the chair, you're communicating, aren't you? What are the rules? Structure the meeting. Keep it to 5 to 7 points at a time on the agenda. Make sure that people know who's who in the zoo, and you are creating an information flow that's dedicated to your audience. You know your audience, the 3 key pieces we've presented already today. Good meetings are structured, they're crisp, the right people are there, and the rules are set out beforehand. How are we going to make decisions? How we're going to break a tie if that's the environment you're in? Who's going to take notes? When will they be published later? How we're going to keep a list of outstanding items and where they're published. Will we use the parking lot? This is a good idea, but it's not for today's meeting. Let's put it in a parking lot. All these cool things. Rules of engagement. Whenever I talk presentation or communication, I always love to say, listen, I don't care how old or how young you are. The personal touch to communication is still important in our lives, in many of our lives. but it also touches people. And I would say that we've really gotten away from this recently over the last 10 or 15 years. Some of us think that texting someone condolences to the loss of for the loss of a loved one, of a parent, is acceptable behavior. It's not. Some of us think that an email to an employee who went above and beyond the call of duty, copy to hundreds of people so they can see the success, is acceptable. Yeah, I think that is good. I think that's a good idea. But you know what I would do as well? I would write a personal letter. The personal touch when you communicate is so critical. If you are a project leader, if you want to be respected in your environment, in a workplace environment, listen, go to Staples or wherever you buy your letterhead, put your name on, have them print the name on it. Don't do an address, because the moment you move, it's useless. Ask for envelopes, and I've got these right behind me. And when I hear of the passing of a loved one, of a friend, I write my friends. I don't email and I don't text. It's boorish. I write them a letter and I put it in the mail. When I have a coworker or a friend that has gone above and beyond the call of duty, a colleague, I should say, especially if it's an employee, I will write a letter to say thank you. I might even drop a very small, simple little card in the envelope to say, have a coffee on us, or buy you a dinner for two, because actually you pulled 3 all-nighters and your partner looked after the kids, and I know it was a horror show and it was good for us and it was a disaster for your family. Buy them a dinner, send them out for an evening of the movies and a bite to eat. Say thank you, and you do it by writing a letter. This is a letter I wrote to my wife before a presentation in March of 2015. I wanted to drop you, I can hardly read my writing, a quick note to say thank you for a job well done last week. Your effort and dedication to this organization, sincerely appreciated. Sincerely, David, your husband. You know what? Write a letter. Say thank you. Say I'm sorry to hear about. Say congratulations for your move. Say congratulations on your promotion. Write it. I did this in a presentation a few years ago, and some guy came up to me. He said, "Can I talk about that letter thing?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, he goes into his wallet, he pulls out a piece of paper. It's like this. He said, "This came from the CEO of my organization. I work with an organization," he said, "with 4,000 people. It's not large, is it?" The CEO took the time to handwrite me a letter. Now, did the CEO know of this guy and what he did? No. The guy's boss went to the CEO, or the guy's boss went to his or her boss and said, "Get the CEO to write a letter now." And that CEO did it. Class act. He saves that letter all the time because it said some really nice things. In a project environment, it is critical as a project leader that you continue the communication flow of information beyond the project-focused work. In order to do that, you need time that isn't work-related with your people. This gets to that whole bit about the personal touch. And in order to do it, you're not going to go hang out with them in the bar. You're not going out with them to the ball game on a weekend, or maybe you are. But one of the tools that we use is called the office walkabout. And it is time for us to walk about our people, if they're physically there, or maybe through the chat box to pick up the phone and say hi, or connect on Zoom to say hi, and just to connect. No work, no follow-up and reports, no cell phone, no agenda. I've seen people do this incredibly well. It's timed every week and different times of the day. It's sometimes, and most often, it's a Friday where things are getting a little lighter. They're wandering around. They're checking up on people's holiday that just came back. They're mentioning an illness in the family that they had heard about last time they did this. They may make notes afterwards. This is also a class act. And what it does is it gives you an opportunity to follow up with people in their own lives. And I've heard so often that, we have a personal life. Don't you get it? Don't you know? You don't even know who my wife is. You've never asked where I live or what I do in the weekend. The ones that do are followed, they're respected, and they're better leaders for it. And their team is stronger because of it. They've taken an interest in the people. So where have we been? And here's the slide that I should have done. I should have copied the slide. I know you're not going to believe I'm going to do this, but I'm going to go back in and I'm going to say, okay, wait a second. This is where I should have said, okay, where have we been? Right here. And now I'm going to go, so where have we been? Plus or minus, 7 plus or minus 2, remember? Structure. Where are we going? Tell me where we are and where have we been? Where are we going? No, I should change the words. Where have we been? So we talked about knowing your audience, the science of knowing your audience. Who gets what, where, why, when, What do they need to know? Why do they need to know it? We talked about the structure of your message so that you've got your hand holding the kids across the street, that no one's going to fly away and you're going to lose their attention. This is a real attention getter. We talked about the 7 bullets of communicating, the plus and minus. We didn't talk about pop-em. I'm going to do it right now. And we've talked about some of the right tools. You know, I took the pop-em out of the presentation this morning because I was worried about time, but here we go in half a minute. Your presentation, your book, your report, your meeting. Someone taught me this long ago. Get their attention in the first 1 minute of a 1 hour presentation. I've produced now a new platform of project management videos called projectbites.com, B-I-T-E-S. Check it out. 7-day free trial. You can have a look. There's 200 videos in there for project management, for project managers. And every one of the people that cut videos, hey, you've got 20 seconds to lose your audience. So what I'm saying is pop them at the beginning so you don't lose them. Let them know. Change them up, make them cry, make them laugh, make them think, wow, this is going to be a good place to be. And don't go into your meetings, into your presentations, into your sessions, and into your book, into your report card, just wandering, because I'm going to lose interest quickly. How many books have you put down after the first chapter? The first chapter of that book, when you write your first novel, you need to grab me so hard that I will not put it down. So that's where we've been. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to talk not any longer, but on behalf of the Schulich-Lassonde Professional Certificate in Project Management for Engineers. The program is launching in the fall. We can talk details if you follow up with us. It is designed for people that are specific to the engineering environment. And what we've done is we said, let's not just teach project management from a generic point of view. Let's go right to the needs of the engineer. Typically, you've got already a foundation of project management education, but not necessarily so. We're not demanding it. There are no prerequisites. We are going to go through that foundation in a day or a couple of days, and we're going to go through all the pieces of the puzzle. From there, we go through planning and planning, schedule, and control, the human side of project management, risk analysis. We're going to deal with the more complex issues of the engineers and the environment of projects as well, and finish it off with a module called Our Project Environment and Implementing Your Projects, and make it really, really personal to you.